Good afternoon. My name is Robert Haskins. I'm a handwriting analyst, document examiner, graphologist, graphotherapist, herbalist, and homeopathic practitioner. Also, we have the ability through handwriting analysis, which handwriting is brain writing. When you write, your signature is an expression of your conscious mind. Anything other than your signature is an expression of your subconscious. We call it graphotherapy. Now, graphotherapy coincides with psychotherapy invented in the 1890s by Freud and Jung. They advocated that learned experiences from the inner mind, which is also the subconscious mind, helps to shape childhood experiences which are responsible for who you are. So when initially you sit down with us, you don't talk, you write. And we let you know what you're doing in your life right now, what you've been doing for the past 3 to 5 years, what you've been doing in your childhood that you brought in your adulthood that's affecting you. This week, we've had a case of a bacterial meningitis, as well as we had a case of suicide. And I wanted to address that in that via one's handwriting analysis, we can determine and do what we call early detection of stress depression levels 1 through 5, and sometimes they are higher, ADD, ADHD, bipolar, bacterial meningitis, symptoms and conditions. And we want to let the public know that when you hear of a person dying of bacterial meningitis, you don't get freaked out, because there is a way of determining it and doing early detection. In the cases that I'm going to be talking about this afternoon, one could have, I should say not one, but I could have looked at the handwriting something like 3 years ago, and you could have found out that the person had bacterial meningitis, as well as the person who committed suicide. You could have looked at his handwriting something like 6 to 8 months before it happened, and you could have found the graphological indicators that indicate stress, that indicate self-responsibility, as well as self-blame, to the extent that you get so stressed out that you don't want to deal with it anymore. And I found out that it's important for us practitioners, doctors, psychiatrists, attorneys, to understand the significance of stress. The chap that died of bacterial meningitis was super stressed. And this didn't just happen. It's been going on for 8 to 10 years. When we look at the graphological indicators that indicate the person has bacterial meningitis, then there's an order of treatment. There's certain things that we have to treat first. You can't just jump on there and start dealing with the bacterial meningitis. There is something like 16 to 18 different viroids and viruses. When we do our assessment for untimely deaths, suicides, as well as determining if a person has ADHD, bipolar, or bacterial meningitis, we highlight the fact that this study could have been done sometimes 3, 4, 5 years ago. In that it's sad, and it hurts me to my heart, that all practitioners aren't aware of viroids and viruses, infections, parasites, meddling chemical poisons. In that, had they been aware of the factor, these parasites, viroids and viruses, infections, then bacterial meningitis cases, SAR, Norwalk, cancer fungus, Bacterial, Staphylococcus, strep, wouldn't freak everybody out. When I do an assessment, like I did on this chap that was in the Michigan area that had bacterial meningitis, I looked at his total body, his total organs, and this could have been, should have been done a long time ago. When people go out for sports or they're in activities, they must realize that they're not mechanical robots, that periodically you have to get your sleep, you have to get your exercises, and you need your rest. As I said earlier, it's sad and it hurts me to my heart to know that had I got to him in terms of doing a stress depression assessment, which we call an extended employee annual review when we're dealing with individuals in a company, or if we would go in and we do extended employee annual reviews for the team, then we would not only deal with productivity, communicability, and performance, but we would deal with stress, stress depression, and address what's on the top of a person's mind that is causing them conflict. At which time we can take and pull out those people that are dealing with ADD, extreme stress, or mild stress, that are bipolar, that have bacterial meningitis symptoms, and we could treat them early. From my 35 years of experience, I haven't had one person that has afflicted another person from kissing, hugging, intercourse, or any other means of exchanging saliva. And also, I have seen people who have taken our herbal regimen from 10 weeks to 15 weeks, depending on, a lot of people have the congestion aspect to deal with, and then we go into the infections, and then after that we deal with the parasites, and then last but not least the meddling chemical poisons. Now, our method and process doesn't include all four phases. That is the congestion, the viroids and viruses and infections, the parasites, and the meddling chemical poisons. These past two cases that I've been working on, and I also dug into my files and brought out a case of a young lady who's about in her, I'd say, early 40s, who had bacterial meningitis, and it took something like 15 weeks to extinguish all of the infections of the bacterial meningitis. Okay, we had to work on the congestion phase, the heart, the kidneys, the lungs, the colon, the pancreas, and then once we got the body organs in shape such that they could fight rather than flight, figuratively speaking, then the herbs for the bacterial meningitis were given, and after 5 weeks she was all better. Now, I pulled this case out by random, And this was in 2008. I had a sample of her handwriting, and then I keep my records in my files, and I checked her out. Now, at this present day, 2012, she needed 4 herbs. An herb, and all 3 of the herbs were for stress and depression. In that, once you consciously acknowledge that you're dealing with stress and depression, then you can control it. So, in summing up, as far as she's concerned, it was very good for me to be able to go back and look at a case in 2008 and parallel it with the fact that she's all well and good. She needs a couple, 3 herbs right now, and she would be better. When I parallel them with the present cases, then it gives me faith and lets me know that had I had an opportunity to work, in that most of my work is after the untimely death, after the suicide, after a person makes their transition from bacterial meningitis. Now, I'd like to get on the other side. As I said earlier, 85% of my clients that come in, that I check out for bacterial meningitis, okay, then they are healed in 10 to 15 weeks. And I periodically check on them throughout the 10 weeks that they progress through the treatment. And so I'm concerned about the other people that were with the person who has passed, made their transition, that had bacterial meningitis. I'm concerned about the friends as well as the families, in that I'd like to talk to them. The powers to be, the family members, as well as to the therapists that came into the schools, and let them know that they don't have anything to worry about. God has got our back, okay? I think that I'm one of the few practitioners that has come up with God's blessings with something like 16 different viroids, infections, that a person has when they have bacterial meningitis. And I've also worked with several toxicologists who did the autopsy after a person made their transition. And upon looking at all of the 16 viruses and infections, as well as the strep, Staphylococcus, Pasteurella, Coxsackie, Salmonella, cancer virus, they found all of the 16 that I had mentioned. As I said earlier, it's important, if you have any signs or someone says that you have bacterial meningitis, when you're feeling stressed and run down, but yet you're saying, I can still do it, then it's time to stop and contact a person like myself. And I can be contacted at 248-541-4412, or my email is E as in Edward, DWARDOHAS @att.net, such that I can walk you through SAR, Norwalk, any of these other diseases can be controlled We don't want you to freak out. Excuse the trite expression. But because, one, God didn't make any junk. Nobody can tell you what to do but yourself. And when we look at your handwriting, we show you how to deal with it. Now, in essence and summing, we work with the untimely death. We like to get people before they make their transitions, before they commit suicide, before they have any treatment. Once you find out that you have bacterial meningitis and you check the body out right away, then before you do anything, it's important that we have a chance to talk with you and sit down. Now, I know I can't get everybody in the world, but all of those who are dealing with symptoms right now, and there's been a lot of people that have been up on YouTube that have talked about they've had friends that had bacterial meningitis, or they felt that the friends that had bacterial meningitis, they had felt the same way. Get to us, talk to us, because we do early detection of stress depression levels 1, 2, 3, and 4, severe stress, ADD, ADHD, bipolar, Tourette syndrome, and bacterial meningitis. We're here to help you help yourself. Give us the opportunity. Call us such that we can help you help yourself, not tell you what to do. Thank you for listening. And please, if you have any difficulty, get in touch. God bless.